Hey folks, this is Manuel from Steadybit. In this video I want to explain what an environment is in Steadybit and why it is an essential feature for you that makes chaos engineering safer when rolling out chaos engineering in your organization. You don't need to work with multiple environments. It's absolutely fine to just use a single environment and create chaos engineering experiments in there. And I will show you in this video both ways and also what's the added value. In order to do so, I'm jumping into the Steadybit Explorer to actually visualize your system and understand what kind of infrastructure we are currently testing. I'm checking out the global environment. The global environment is always included in Steadybit, and that basically means whatever was discovered by Steadybit is available in the global environment. Right now, I'm focusing on Kubernetes clusters, but the same concepts applies whenever you have just, let's say, bare metal hosts running in your infrastructure, or you have some cloud provider services that you're using and you want to do some chaos engineering in here. In this example, we have two Kubernetes clusters. One is the shop stage cluster, and the other one is actually our production cluster. In the staging cluster, we have currently two namespaces. One is the shop B2B, which consists of a microservice-based application, and it has some Kubernetes deployments in here, like, for instance, Gateway, Fashion Bestseller, and Office Bestseller. Also, in the shop B2C, we have some deployments which are similar, like, for instance, Gateway and Fashion, but we also have some deployments which are unique for B2C or B2B. Important, as you can see at the left-hand side, we also have the B2C shop already deployed in production, and we have Steadybit deployed in here as well. And obviously, when we're looking in here, we have similar deployments, like, for instance, the Gateway deployment and also the Fashion Bestseller deployment. Now I want to create a chaos engineering experiment that is specifically targeting the Fashion Bestseller deployment of B2C in my shop staging environment. So I specifically want to target the deployment over here, but not all the others. In order to do that, I'm jumping over into the experiment capability of Steadybit, and I'm now in a specific experiment I've already created. You can see I'm also using the global environment in here. And now I have an experiment design where I'm injecting a crash loop into a specific Kubernetes pod, and I can easily specify the targeted Kubernetes pod by, for instance, using the Kubernetes deployment and benefiting again from the auto-discovery data without any trial and error. However, as you can see right now, I'm only specifying the Kubernetes deployment, and that leads to 3 Kubernetes pods which are matching this specific query. And I can easily show which ones are affected by just opening up the targets preview. And now I can see at the right-hand side that I'm obviously attacking the shop staging cluster and the shop B2C namespace, so the one I want to attack. But also with the current configuration, I'm attacking the shop B2B namespace in the same cluster, and more important, also the productive cluster, because it's not precisely defined which deployment in which cluster or namespace I want to attack. To fix this, I don't need an environment right now. I can simply specify some additional attributes in here, like, for instance, using the Kubernetes cluster name as well as namespace. And having done that, the experiment configuration looks like this. So I'm not only specifying the specific Kubernetes deployment, but also the namespace and the cluster name. However, whenever I'm using this approach, I always have to make sure that users using Steadybit are specifying the queries in the right way, not accidentally hitting an infrastructure component which they are not responsible for. Now I can actually fix this by just using environments in Steadybit, and later on use a specific environment in my experiment. In order to do so, I go to the Steadybit settings into the environment section, and you can see I've already created 3 additional environments in here. Basically, one for the shop B2B in the staging cluster. Then for the shop B2C, we have 2 environments, namely stage and prod. Now, when jumping into the B2C stage environment, we can see that the configuration is pretty similar. We include the Kubernetes cluster name as well as the namespace. And this way, a user doesn't need to remember all the time which specific attributes he needs to choose, but you as an administrator can basically make it already safe for the specific team. And now we can create an additional team in Steadybit, assign users to this team, like, for instance, Jane Doe and myself, and then specify access to the environments B2C for the B2C team, and this way the team is only running experiments in those two environments. Now, whenever I'm creating a new experiment in this particular team, so now I'm in the Shop B2C team and I create a new experiment, for instance, from scratch or from a template, the first question I actually get is to choose an environment. And I can, of course, only select one of the two environments I have given access to from my administrator. Now, looking into the same experiment that we saw earlier, you can still specify the Kubernetes deployment without needing to specify the cluster or the namespace. And because my administrator has set it up the environments in the right way, I'm only attacking a single deployment and a single Kubernetes pod in the desired Kubernetes cluster and namespace. Of course, I can also easily switch between environments, and this way it's pretty easy to run the same experiments in different clusters. If you want to learn more about environments, we also have a lot of documentation how to configure them and how to use them in the experiment or in the Explorer functionality of Steadybit. So basically, to summarize, an environment is a way to make chaos engineering safer for your teams and for yourself, and make sure that you're not accidentally hitting an infrastructure component that you are not intending to hit, but it's not needed for you to create multiple environments. It's an aspect of safety and to split up responsibilities in chaos engineering, and not a mandatory feature you need to use. So feel free to start easy with just a single environment, which is a global environment, which gives you access to all infrastructure components at once. If you have any questions on this topic, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thanks for watching and take care.